You know the relationship is hurting you. You have promised yourself you would leave. But the moment they become loving again, all your certainty disappears. That is not weakness. You may be caught in a trauma bond. In the previous video, we explored the tactics manipulative people use. Now we will look at why those cycles can become so difficult to leave, 10 signs to recognize, and safe first steps toward breaking the bond. Someone you love hurts you, and for a moment the harm is painfully clear. But when another person notices, you immediately explain the behavior away. You say they were stressed, misunderstood, tired, frightened, or wounded by their past. Your attention moves away from what happened to you and toward protecting their image. You may even minimize the story before telling it, leaving out the parts that sound most alarming. Empathy is valuable, but understanding a cause does not erase the effect of harmful behavior. Try describing one incident using only observable facts, without excuses or interpretations. If the facts feel difficult to say aloud, that discomfort may be important information. After tension, criticism, or distance, even a small act of kindness can feel enormous. A warm message, gentle touch, or apology suddenly brings powerful relief. The contrast makes ordinary affection feel like proof that everything has finally changed. For a while, hope returns and the painful moments seem less important. But healthy care does not need fear or deprivation to make it feel meaningful. Ask whether the good moment repaired the harm or merely interrupted it. Look for accountability, changed behavior, and consistency rather than emotional intensity. Relief after pain can feel like love, but relief and safety are not the same thing. You remember how attentive, gentle, or understanding they seemed at the beginning. That early version of them becomes the standard against which you judge the entire relationship. Each brief return of warmth feels like evidence that the person you loved is still there. So you wait through another cold period, believing patience will bring the beginning back. Months or years can pass while you remain attached to potential instead of present reality. Do not evaluate the relationship only by its promises, memories, or exceptional days. Ask what the relationship feels like most of the time, especially after conflict. The consistent pattern tells you more than the version of someone you are still hoping to recover. When they become cruel, distant, or explosive, you search for what you did wrong. You replay conversations, examining every word, expression, and decision. They may reinforce this by saying you made them react that way. Soon, preventing their behavior begins to feel like your personal responsibility. You become hyper-aware of their mood and less aware of your own needs. You can influence a conversation, but you do not control another adult's choices. Replace the question, "How did I cause this?" with "How did they choose to respond?" Accountability belongs to the person who acted, even when the relationship is complicated. You may feel certain about leaving while you are hurt, angry, or emotionally exhausted. But when separation becomes real, your body can react with panic and intense longing. You may feel unable to sleep, eat, focus, or resist checking for a message. Guilt may appear too, especially if they promise to change or say they cannot cope without you. These feelings can pull you back before the original problem has been resolved. Strong distress does not automatically mean leaving is the wrong decision. Prepare for the emotional wave by writing down your reasons and contacting safe support. Feelings rise and fall. You do not have to make a permanent decision inside the most painful moment. After a serious incident, they may offer a gift, favor, meal, or affectionate evening. The gesture may feel so comforting that the unresolved harm moves into the background. You may tell yourself that a truly harmful person would never be this thoughtful. But kindness and harmful behavior can exist in the same relationship. One pleasant moment does not cancel fear, humiliation, threats, control, or repeated betrayal. Keep different events separate instead of allowing one good act to erase another harmful one. Repair requires acknowledgement, responsibility, restitution, and sustained change. A gift can be appreciated, but it should never be treated as payment for your silence. At first, you may share openly when something in the relationship feels wrong. Over time, you begin editing the story because you know people who love you will be concerned. You avoid mentioning another argument, broken promise, insult, or frightening incident. You may withdraw from people who ask questions you are not ready to answer. Secrecy leaves you more isolated and more dependent on the relationship itself. Choose one trustworthy person and tell one honest, specific part of what has been happening. Ask them to listen without pressuring you, judging you, or confronting the other person. Safe connection helps restore perspective that isolation can slowly take away. You may once have known clearly what treatment you would never accept. Then one boundary is crossed, followed by an apology, explanation, or promise. The boundary moves a little, and behavior that once felt unacceptable becomes familiar. You adjust again to avoid conflict, abandonment, punishment, or another emotional crash. Eventually, you may struggle to identify your own limits at all. Write down 3 behaviors that are not acceptable to you, regardless of the explanation. Decide what action you will take if each boundary is crossed. A boundary needs a response. Your limits are not cruelty. They are information about what you require to remain safe and whole. The relationship may move through a repeating sequence that becomes strangely predictable. Tension builds, and you begin monitoring every word and movement. Then comes an incident, an attack, betrayal, threat, disappearance, or explosion. Afterward, apologies, affection, promises, or intense closeness bring emotional relief. Calm returns for a while, and you hope the cycle has finally ended. But without genuine accountability and change, tension slowly begins building again. Map the sequence on paper and mark what happens before, during, and after each incident. Seeing the whole cycle makes it harder for one peaceful phase to hide the repeating pattern. The highest moments may feel euphoric, while the lowest moments feel unbearable. Because your emotions are constantly activated, the relationship can feel uniquely deep. Calm, respectful connection may even seem dull compared with this intensity. But intensity can come from uncertainty, fear, longing, and repeated relief. Love is not measured by how much pain you can survive for another person. Notice how your body feels around them, settled and free, or tense and constantly alert. Healthy love allows honesty, predictability, dignity, and room for your separate identity. Peace may feel unfamiliar at first, but unfamiliar does not mean empty. Trauma bonds are often strengthened by unpredictable alternation between harm and reward. When affection is uncertain, your attention becomes focused on finding the next sign of safety. Each unexpected reward releases relief and renews hope more powerfully than steady care might. This is called intermittent reinforcement. The reward arrives, but you never know when. The uncertainty can keep you trying harder, analyzing more, and waiting longer. This mechanism helps explain the attachment, but it does not diagnose every difficult relationship. The important question is whether a repeated cycle of harm, control, and reward is reducing your freedom. Naming the pattern can replace shame with understanding and create room for deliberate choices. Begin by recording the pattern privately, including incidents, promises, and what happened afterward. Reconnect with trustworthy people and, when possible, a qualified mental health professional. Reduce the private isolation in which confusion and self-doubt become strongest. Make a practical safety plan before confronting or leaving someone who may become controlling or violent. Protect important documents, money, medication, transportation, digital accounts, and emergency contacts. If immediate danger is possible, contact local emergency services or a domestic abuse support organization. Healing may involve grief, doubt, and setbacks. Returning once does not mean you have failed forever. You are not weak for being affected by the cycle. With support, clarity, and safety, the bond can loosen and your life can become your own again. This video is for education and self-awareness and is not a diagnosis or a substitute for professional care. If this pattern feels familiar, consider speaking privately with a qualified professional or a trusted support service. You deserve relationships in which care does not depend on fear, control, or pain.